Hey everybody, I am Thomas and this is Writtance, where we write whole worlds. Today I've got a story for you about a man curious about what lies beyond the sea and find something he never expected to. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the fantasy tale of a cross. Isn't it mysterious? Tycho said, pointing at the ocean. How can the world just end like that? His friend Robertus shrugged impatiently as he said, "But there has to be some indication, right? The gods wouldn't just let us fall off." Nah, I'm not buying it. I bet you that there's something hiding behind it, just out of sight, like the islands and lakes. Robertus rolled his eyes as he answered, "Well, it doesn't matter either way. It's not like we can swim there and your rafts always come washing back." He sighed after a short pause. "Look, I'm not gonna keep trying to stop you. Frankly, I'm tired and I can't keep following you here all the way every week." "Then don't," Tycho said, busy unwrapping his bundle of planks. "I'll be alright." "Like hell you will," Robertus shouted. "You won't keep getting lucky, and if you drown out there, we can't even bury your sorry body. I swear, man, go home." Tycho did not respond as he kept silently constructing his next raft. "Whatever, I'm done. I hope you drown." Robertus stormed off, his face red with anger. "It's not like I don't understand your worry, Rob, but if I don't see this for myself, I'll be thinking about it forever." Tycho had tried to raft to the horizon 5 times in the last month, losing 3 of the attempts to heavy waves knocking him off and 2 to bad construction. This time would be different, as he had a plan. He stuck 2 leather belts in between the basic wooden foundation of his raft, which he'd used to fasten his legs to the top. Additionally, he increased the buoyancy of his construction by attaching 4 large, watertight buckets to the underside, trapping the air under the raft, whilst also counteracting his weight. Perfect, Tycho thought to himself. What could possibly go wrong? Once his masterpiece had been completed, he placed it in the shallow water to test. The air was perfectly balanced on the 4 corners, giving it a little bit more stability as he tested his weight on it. Without hesitation, he grabbed his oar and strapped his left leg in. He used his right to kick off and paddled in a bit further before strapping his other leg in. "It's really happening. This is the one. I know it." Tycho paddled for a few hours. It had been clear until now, with fairly calm water, but by the time the sun hung inches above the horizon, the sky had become overcast, and the waters grew restless. A storm was brewing. "Shit," Tycho said, resolving himself. What started as a drizzle became heavy rain within minutes. The sky began to crack with energy, as medium-sized waves kept bashing into him. Each time the waves pushed, he felt the raft tilt dangerously. The heavy rain became torrential, and his vision was almost entirely gone. Between the waves and the rain, his breathing time became very limited, and it took all of his strength to keep the raft straight. His arms and waist were rapidly growing tired from the constant correcting, and it wouldn't be long until he made a fatal mistake. A surge of water pushed his raft up, causing Tycho to instinctively stick his oar backwards, shifting his weight the wrong direction. The pockets of air now worked directly against him as the entire raft flipped upside down with Tycho still strapped in. He immediately let go of the oar and began tugging at the clasps, but no matter what he did, he could not seem to get them loose. He flailed desperately, trying to grab onto the edges of the raft, but to no avail. He tried his best to hold his breath, but the water pressure and the pain in his chest and head forced him to exhale. He felt the water enter his lungs, his sight dimming as he threw his arms around. The scene grew dimmer, until he could no longer feel himself float anymore. Suddenly, light flooded his vision, blinding him. He reflexively coughed the water up from his lungs as oxygen took its place. He wheezed and gasped for a few minutes, slowly getting the strength in his body back. He pushed himself up from the sand. His body felt heavy, as if he worked out for many hours. His vision still blurry, he almost fell over, but caught himself. His sight recovered slightly as he turned around and stopped, He stood there staring for at least a full minute before saying, "I really should have listened to Rob." His voice weak from almost drowning, his waterlogged clothes felt heavy, but left him no time to worry. In front of him, a beautiful white beach spread as far as he could see in both directions, each as unforgivingly bright as the other, as the burning sun dried his back. At the edge of the sand, where the soft meets the hard, nature transitioned into a thick jungle. The low canopy concealed its interior from sight as he gazed into the thicket. The bright beach contrasted that dark forest like day does night, and it frightened him. The land upon which he stood was unknown to him. The grasslands he came from held no semblance to this. He turned around, but saw neither his raft nor the land he came from. That means this is new land? A wave of both extreme happiness and worry washed over him as he collapsed to his knees again. His exhaustion got the better of him as he fell forward into the warm sand, a smile plastered on his face. Tycho awoke from a dreamless rest. His body felt cold and his joints hurt. With a surge of willpower, he pushed himself up, scrambling to his feet. The moon shone brightly in the clear sky. The quiet sounds of gentle waves washing onto land did little to quell the ominous aura that the jungle was emitting. A wave of nausea washed over Tycho as he stumbled to stay up straight. He was starving. In a daze, he walked into the jungle. The sounds of night were deafening. Each breeze rustled low-hanging leaves as he heard screams of birds he was unfamiliar with. Keeping as quiet as he could, he pushed through the dense forest. "Ah!" His voice tore through the jungle as he stared at the huge, white, and thorny centipede stuck to his face. His hand shot up and ripped it off, throwing it onto the ground. His heart was racing. How can centipedes even get that big? A thin trail of blood leaked from the bite mark on his forehead directly into his eye. "Oh, for the love of," he said, agitatedly rubbing his eye. All of this sound did not go unheard. He traveled deeper into the jungle for a while, keeping his eyes peeled for anything edible. His clothes were all torn up by now, and his skin covered in light scratches, but that did not stop him from pushing through one bush after another. His eyes widened as he looked at a strange fruit hanging from a tree about 5 meters above him. Its shell looked hard and somewhat bulbous. A red sheen came off it from the dim light breaking through the dense canopy, giving it a creepy look. But Tycho could not care less, because it looked edible. With the focus of his motivation now clearly in sight, he began climbing the thin tree. Using whatever remained of his shirt as a sling to brace himself, he inched up towards the strange fruit. The journey up was relatively painless, but the fruit proved to be more firmly attached to the tree than he initially expected. Clumsily hanging from a thick branch, he swung his legs over and let go of the shirt, which fell to the ground. Hanging there, both of his hands now free, he began tugging on the fruit. "Come on, come on, come on!" With one mighty pull, the fruit came loose, and so did the branch from which he hung. Holding the fruit firmly in his hands, the branch snapped, causing him to dangle downwards. His legs firmly locked on, he managed to prevent himself from falling to the ground, but was now dangling upside down from the tree. When he opened his eyes again, he was looking directly at the tips of 5 spears. 5 androgynous humans, wearing armor made out of thick animal leather, were pressing their weapons up against him. The fruit softly fell to the grass, as Tycho's eyes darted between the 5 in a panic, his legs still clutching firmly onto the snapped branch. "Hello, min var dressa palvo." The tip of the spear pressed lightly into Tycho's skin, as the androgynous person spoke to him in a language he did not understand. Still hanging upside down from the snapped branch, Tycho's eyes drifted between them in a panic. The lack of response seemed to agitate the warriors, as the others slowly pushed their spears closer. The lack of response seemed to agitate the warriors, as the others slowly pushed their spears closer. I'm sorry, Tycho blurted out, his voice shrill. I didn't mean to hurt your tree. The five looked between each other, spoke a few words, and broke off from the group, dashing away through the jungle. The three that had remained stared at him intently. The one who had their spear pressed up against him backed off slightly and pointed at him. Vaina! Inaelo wova! As they spoke, their fingers pointed at him, and then at the ground. Taking that as a clue, Tycho let go of the branch. He fell to the soft ground, his limbs a jumbled mess, his face inches away from the fruit he painstakingly gathered. Is this what people mean when they say so close yet so far? Tycho thought to himself. From the ground he got a better look at the armed people. Their pale faces seemed out of place for the environment, almost pure white, yet their pupils were red, like a droplet of blood in the purest snow. None of them had any facial hair, but the hair they did have was as pale as their skin. It all stood in stark contrast with the dark hides they wore for protection. Not even the thick layers of their armor could fully conceal the size of their bodies. Broad shoulders, muscular arms, and taller than any human Tycho had ever come across, standing well over 2 meters in height. The three of them rested their spears, pointing them up in the air. One who had been speaking to Tycho walked up right next to him and picked him up by the shoulder. Their hand easily reached around the entire length of it as they inspected him. Aeova, Rachwovala Nozik, they said, pointing at Tycho's face. The other two nodded in response, causing the first one to put Tycho back down. Thanks. Can I go? Tycho asked sheepishly. They looked at him for a while, seemingly studying his behavior, before pointing into the direction where the other two disappeared to. Placing their large hand on his back, they pushed him forward. Oh, over there? Alright. Okay, no problem. Guided by the three warriors, Tycho traveled even deeper into the jungle. As they walked, he noticed a variety of odd beasts in the trees. Furred, long-limbed creatures stared at them as they went, but did not attack. Some beasts even fled at the sight of them. After a while, the area began to open up, allowing more room between the trees and the foliage. A trail created by thousands of footfalls opened up as he pushed through the thicket, and it became clear where they were leading him. Hundreds of wood and stone houses were built inside the pseudo-clearing. Using the sparse trees as foundation, this multi-layered, natural city exists here as a bastion of mankind. In uncaring defiance, it stood in the middle of the most dangerous of landscapes. From a glance, Tycho spotted many of these white-skinned giants walking amongst them, each one of them armed and armored, protecting the city and its residents. Most of them had a deep suntan and darker hair, making the giants stand out even more. The residents walked around with tools of their trade, without armor, uncaring of their dangerous environment. As the warriors pushed Tycho into the city, people kept their distance. His strange clothing seemed to cause a bit of unease amongst the townsfolk, but was met with equal curiosity. People whispered to each other in that same language, pointing at him. They pushed him deeper and deeper within, showing just how large the civilization truly was. There must be hundreds, if not thousands of people living here. Almost forgetting his position, Tycho's eyes sparkled. There really were others. Within the center of the city stood an enormous tree, easily 30 meters in diameter, decorated with many small houses that stood upon its enormous branches. It was an incredible sight. At its base was a circular plaza, where many children sat, listening to an elderly giant, who stopped their instruction as the group, escorting Tycho, appeared. Everyone looked over at them, but they did not pause, and kept walking towards the tree. At the foot of the tree, Tycho spotted a large opening, flanked on both sides by carved stone in the shape of the sun, yet the inside of the room looked dark. They halted right in front of this opening, and dropped to their knees. The leaders shouted something at Tycho, who quickly followed their example. They sat there, on their knees, heads bent down for a full minute, before the area grew quiet. From within the tree, a giant emerged. one at least twice as big as the ones Tycho had seen so far. Their entire body was marked in dark tattoos in a script he could not read. But one thing stood out more than anything else. Their eyes had no pupils. Tycho could not tell if they were looking at him or not, but dared not speak up. Nobody said a thing as the being calmly stood in front of Tycho. A few minutes passed like this, as Tycho's heartbeat rang louder and louder in his ears. The silence was deafening, until finally broken by the magnificent being in front of him. Its voice was so deep, it resembled the crackling of thunder. I speak not your language, for I come from afar. I drifted here after losing my way on the oceans that lie between our lands. I mean no harm. The being's expression did not change as Tycho spoke, and another silence emerged. Tycho worriedly looked around him, and saw dozens of faces look directly at him. In a rush, he dug through his pockets until he found something. This is for you. A gift from my people, Tycho said, as he extended his hand holding a broken compass within. Soft whispers broke the silence as people in the plaza reacted to this display. The being slowly raised one hand, causing the entire city to grow quiet once again. It slowly crouched down next to Tycho and took the compass from him between two enormous fingers. They closely inspected it before placing it in the hands of one of the warriors. They spoke a few words, causing a man to appear from the crowd a few moments later. He walked up to Tycho and handed him a large piece of some kind of dried meat. Unable to contain his hunger, Tycho immediately bit into it. After he was done eating, the being placed their hand on his head, and it spoke once more. Afterwards, it retreated back into the tree, and the moment it was out of sight, the city erupted in talk. The warriors that had escorted him walked away, leaving Tycho behind. One by one, the villagers approached him, talked to him, and looked at him. They accepted him as one of their own. As he lived here, he quickly learned their language. After they built his home, he continued his tinkering. For the first time in his life, this was not frowned upon. He soon had a small group of people with whom he worked together, creating and experimenting, learning and growing. He had found his home. Not everyone is born in a place they can truly call home. To have the courage to take a risk, to find such a place is not easy, and it doesn't always work out. But this is no reason. Be content with unhappiness. And that's the end. Have you ever taken the leap and moved a great distance? I've moved all over the place, across several countries. And beyond teaching me a fair few languages, I've had an overall great experience with it. So I'm curious to hear what your stance on it is. Like the video for the heck of it, and subscribe for more stories, world building, D&D, or fantasy related videos. If you enjoyed it, I got a lot more of these on my Instagram linked below. Thank you very much for watching, and I wish you a fantastic day. Take care, and see you next time. Bye bye.